everyone could just think about the next 29 or so hours. It's about a day or so. Think about the things that you'll probably do in the next day. Any things in particular that you're thinking of doing the next day? Homework. I'll probably talk to my mom 3 or 4 more times. Anyone else?
Go to class.
Yeah. Sleep. Yeah. So, in the month of October, a Black person was killed by a police officer every 29 hours. So that was 26 people in just 1 month. Just in 31 days, 26 people were killed by Black officers. By police officers in that month. So I know a couple of weeks ago in lecture we talked about the Black Lives Matter sort of movement, and it's kind of a touchy subject, and I get that. So at any point, if you feel uncomfortable or this makes you uncomfortable, feel free to stop me or step out. I promise I won't get offended or anything like that. I truly understand kind of what this topic does to people in those sort of situations. So hashtag Black Lives Matter. So it started on social media in the wake of George Zimmerman, who was a neighborhood watchman. It started while he was being acquitted of the charges of a 17-year-old boy, Trayvon Martin. He was acquitted of the charges of his death. Since that time, the hashtag has reached about 5 million people internationally. That's amazing. So it's really interesting to see how impactful just one hashtag can be. I know we're seen as like the millennials, and we're really big on social media, and that's kind of where a lot of us get our news from. Very rarely do we go into the newspaper and flip through and see what's going on in our daily lives. So it's really amazing to me that we can reach so many people with just a simple hashtag. Even more powerful, during the midst of the murder of Eric Garner, who was a black male killed by unarmed black male killed by a police officer, there were 13,000 tweets within an hour using the hashtag Black Lives Matter hashtag. That's really, really amazing. So this is a really famous picture taken during the Ferguson riots, and it's difficult because this is kind of how the Black Lives Matter movement is portrayed. It's seen as really violent and exclusive and radical and really hateful, and these are kind of the images that people use when they describe the Black Lives Matter movement. And it's been taken so far as to kind of been compared to the KKK. There have been news anchors and different journalists that have compared the Black Lives Matter movement to that sort of hostility, when in reality, it's more of things like this. The Black Lives Matter movement is really, really powerful. They're really like the movers and shakers of our sort of time. They're out with their feet to the ground, they're protesting, and it's not always violent protesting, it's not always really radical and out there and in your face. Sometimes it's things like this where these are huge marches and huge protests because this is what gets things done. I like to compare this to things like Black Panthers, who had received free breakfast when they were in public schools, like elementary school and middle school did, and you received free breakfast in the mornings. Fun fact, so the Black Panthers, also seen as really radical and exclusive and violent, they're actually the reason we have free breakfast in public schools. So in 1969, they started a free breakfast program that started off feeding only about 40 or so students, and then within about a year span, expanded to 10,000 or so students, and now it feeds all public students. Every morning, a kid can go to school and get a free breakfast, whether or not they qualify for free or reduced lunch or not, they still receive that breakfast, and that's really awesome. And that's the kind of thing that these sort of movements do. It's not always just violence and causing trouble and getting into it. It's not always about hurting others, and it's not always about being really angry. It's really about making change happen. So why do we need the Black Lives Matter movement? And I kind of touched on it where I said that it's more about being feet to the ground and getting true progress and true things to happen. And so the Black Lives Matter movement is a fight, it's an expression of frustration, and it's a fight for justice and equity, and we don't want, it's not anti-police, it's not anti-white, and it's not anti-authority, it's more of pro-black. Pro-black doesn't mean anti-anything else, it's just It's saying that we want the same respect, we want the same justice, we want the equity that other individuals within our country are receiving. Things such as institutional racism still exist. There's a concept called the school to prison pipeline. I actually can't see it, there's another little dude over there. But 1 in 3 black men will enter a prison system within their lifetime. That's frightening. As compared to 1 in 17 white men, 1 in 18 black women, 1 in 11 white women. So you can kind of see the disparity of the number of black men that will enter a prison system in their lifetime as compared to other demographics. Along with that, we're not really in a post-racial America. It's like sometimes it's said that, oh, this is post-racial America, we don't really have racial issues anymore, and that's not really the case. Yes, there are Jim Crow laws and there are lynchings that happen out in the public, but there are still very, very hurtful and very important things that are happening that aren't being seen. And so those things still need to be addressed. And I think the Black Lives Matter movement is a really great start to addressing those sort of issues. So, call to action. Dr. Martin Luther King said, "Darkness cannot drive out dark, only light can do that." And I'm a really big fan of this quote, just because by ignoring the fact that there's an issue doesn't help the issue. But if we bring light to those issues and work towards changing them, then there's a better possibility of moving forward and getting real change to happen.